next up, we can look at either applying our onTrigger event to either our player object or to our asteroid object, and then kind of go from there. But basically, we need to be able to check for a collision between the two objects. Right now, if we hit play and it falls onto us, nothing actually happens. So, depending on which one you want to set up, we're going to do it through our asteroid, but we could do it through either one. We're going to go into the asteroid and we're going to say, okay, onTrigger event, if you run into the player, then create an explosion, reset your position, and then let's take away some health that we haven't actually set up for the player, and take away health or even take away a life from the player itself. So first, let's start off with our function, and we'll do this one as a function onTrigger enter. And again, we'll set it up with another collider. And inside of this one, we're going to say that, again, another conditional. Like before, it's going to collide with the object, but we need to check for what is it that we collided with. We use our tag to find out what we collided with. So we're going to say if other is what? Is equal to the player. So if other dot game object dot tag is equal to, we haven't labeled him yet, but we'll label him player. Let's make sure we've got these spelled right. Let's add a little J in there. There we go. So if other game object tag is equal to player, so let's go back over here to our player object. We check in here our tag. We haven't actually set it to player. So we've got a default player, except it's a capital P. And we can go ahead and just use that one. It's already built in. We might as well. We'll come back over to our player in here and make sure we capitalize that so that it matches up. So now we're saying that if that object, and it is set now with player, is equal to that tag, then what do we want to do to the player? Well, we could do something to player. We can also do something to the asteroid. Let's kind of go in order. Let's say the first thing we want to do is we want to do other dot, and let's check in our player object over here. We want to be able to take away a variable from our player script. So if we look into the player script, we don't really have anything for lives yet. We just have the basic information. So I'm going to drop in lives right above here. We're going to say variable lives. This is just an integer value. And how many lives do we want? We'll set it to 3. We'll save that one out. Again, we're just adding a variable lives to our player. We're going to go back to our script. And now we've got that connection because we've created that collision, that interaction. We've triggered it. Now we're saying that other is the player. So we're saying other, and maybe minus equal 1. So if we were to just simply say other.lives minus equal 1, we might think maybe that'll get us into this script file and get us to the live variable and subtract 1. Now, just for the fun of it, we'll save it. We'll come over to Unity. And what Unity says is, wait a second, lives is not a member of the Unity Engine.collider. So what's happening right in here, we're basically trying to call up our variable that we set through the collider class in here, and it's not part of it. So we need to be able to point to our script file that we're actually using. So instead of just trying to say lives minus equals 1 where we're subtracting from it, we need to do other dot, and then we need to get the component that we're using. So let's say get component, and then inside of this we're going to be pointing to that component that we want to get to, and that's going to be our script player. And then inside of our script player, what variable are we trying to get to? Dot lives minus equals 1. So here, we're actually subtracting it all the way through. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the get component, be sure to go back to your search option in your API. And inside of here, we can see that we've got our component, get component in here, the game object get component. And what are we looking for? Get component type. And then we've got plenty of examples of how we're getting in there and getting the component, and then calling into that game object that we have and getting the variable out of there. So just like we've set up right in here, get component script player dot lives minus equals 1. So let's try it out. We'll save it. Let's load it up and let's hit play. You'll notice that our error has gone away. And we can see that we've already lost 1 life. It ran right into us. We didn't even have a chance with that one. We've lost another, and we're down to 0. And we're down to -1. So we've made that connection. We've tied into it. We've been able to get to the information in the script and then actually change that variable. So we're doing really good right now. Now, the next thing we want to do with this is add some more to this actual event that's happened. And the next kind of thing we can add to this event is going to be something like a explosion, as well as moving our asteroid object back up to the top. So let's go in here and let's create our explosion. Before we create the explosion, we need to actually load a variable explosion. So we'll make our explosion here, load our transform, and then inside of our trigger event, we're going to do another instantiate. And what do? We look for our object, explosion, where at our transform position and our transform rotation. Comma transform dot rotation. So here we have instantiated an object at the an object of explosion at the transform position and rotation of the asteroid. So wherever the asteroid is at, that's where the explosion is going to be created. Make sure we end this with our semicolon. And then the next thing we can do, we've tied in, we've subtracted 1 life, we have created the explosion, and then we need to reset the position of our asteroid. So if we go up here, we can see that here's our reset position code, and we'll go ahead and just copy and paste that into our on trigger. That way it's going to reset it and randomize its location. So let's make sure all of this works. We'll hit save. We'll go over here, we'll hit play. And we lost a life, and you can see that the one thing that did happen was that we did hit, and what did we not do? Similar to the last time, we haven't made a check for do we have an explosion loaded. So if we go to our asteroid object, you can see that we don't have an explosion loaded into it, so we do get that error message because of that. So let's go ahead and just drag our explosion into it. Let's do some error handling in here. We're going to make sure that we actually check for the explosion. So just like from before, we're going to say if our conditional is explosion. If the explosion is true, then play the explosion, else forget about it and move on. So we'll save that one out. We'll go back in. There we go. It hit us. We'll select on our player so we can see our stats. It did subtract a life from us. And it hits us, it explodes, it resets its position, so we're looking pretty good. The functionality is there. We're subtracting lives from our player. Now, the one thing that we could do, though, is we could step back and say, well, we are repeating some code in here. We are actually repeating the reset position of the enemy code here and in here. Now, it's not that big of a deal. It's just 2 lines of code, but if we were to continue to put this in different locations, then our best bet is to actually just create our own function and then call up our function from there. So let's go ahead and do that. Just for the fun of it, we're going to say we'll have our own function, and this could be our reset enemy function. So we'll do our reset enemy. I'm not going to pass in any kind of information. And what are we resetting? Just what's right there. We're just simply going to copy and paste that into our function. And where are we going to put it? We're going to put it right here and just get rid of those. That way we have a much more condensed set of code and a little more control on where that one function is. So let's say we do just reset enemy, and we'll take this one out as well, and reset enemy. Cleans it up, puts it into one spot. Let's hit save on that. And let's make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. We hit play. There we go. And it's simply just calling up that function, and that function is resetting that object's position. Nice and neat. Alright. So at this point we're looking pretty good. We've got a brand new function in here. We're using that function to call up the new position of the object as it falls down. We're subtracting a life from our player. And next up we're going to look at adding in a little bit of audio. We've got some of this up and going. We've still got a few more parts and pieces to tie in, but our audio would be nice to tie in next. We'll do that in just a minute.